Hey everyone, my name is Patricia Fry, and today I was actually prepared and asked to prepare a speech that I didn't get to actually make. But here's the deal. There are three women that were in the audience that are so important to me. So Patricia Burns-McDonald, to Jenny Shaky, and to Tamara Dooley, this speech is for you. This would have been what would have happened if I had made it to the podium, but instead, I'm just going to deliver it right here. I actually counted that there were 58 steps from my seat to the podium, and although that might seem like a short distance, it's actually been 48 years, 11 months, and 3 weeks in the making, and not one of those steps did I take alone. And here's what I want to tell you. On November 27th of 2014, I was out on a seemingly harmless jog, and I was hit by a car. I ended up with my head split open. I ended up with the loss of my eyesight. My speaking developed both a speech slur and a stutter, as well as my hearing loss. What would ensue from there were seizures on stage and a whole host of variety of just basically a nightmare. But here's the thing, is that I had already started a company where I was giving back, volunteering, and actually rising to the top of a male-dominated industry in auctions. But I didn't really realize that all the time that I had given back and mentored, I didn't really know why. So here's what I learned. When I was unconscious on the side of the road, this is what I picked up. Despite the fact that I was down to nothing, and when I say nothing, I mean nothing, I was desperate for an answer. I had built into my company the fact that I had to go show up at a women's shelter, I had to go show up to children dying of cancer, I had to go show up and give back no matter what. I put it in as part of my business model. So here's what I learned. And these are the things. There are 3 things I'm going to share with you, and they're all going to lead to one message that I want, particularly for those 3 women. The first thing I learned is that many people feel that you need to be blessed in order to bless another, and that is wrong. It took me being down to nothing and giving back to understand that when I was down to nothing, that my ego was finally out of the way and I had the most to give. And not only in the most to give, I had the most to learn. Because what I thought was a bad situation for me, I found that there was worse. And every time that someone thought I had something to offer them, what happened to me? I gave when I had nothing. And then in turn, I was blessed and I started to rise and I started to get better. So that's the first thing I want you to remember here today. Give when you have nothing, because that's actually when you have the most to give. So the second thing I learned is that everybody talks about these leaning in circles, leaning in. When I think of a circle, I think about covered wagons and keeping people out. I don't want you to do that. I want you to reach out. I want you to reach out, and not only to the women that look like you and sound like you and are in your inner area. I want you to reach beyond that, because I can tell you exactly how I did it. Today I am so tired, I'm going to be honest with you, of hearing I tolerated our differences. It's not in tolerating our differences, but rather in celebrating our similarities that we truly actually reach out. And here's how I know. What happens to the woman that I see every day at Circle K that's pouring my coffee? What happens to the woman that's at my favorite steakhouse that's the bathroom attendant? And what happens to the woman that's driving the forklift at the warehouse that I work at? See, they see me every day and I see them, but we're not really actually seeing each other. See, here's the point. I'm only seeing and tolerating our differences. I'm not seeing and celebrating our similarities. And those 3 women are single mothers. Those 3 women have just the same struggle as I did. And in getting to know those 3 women, we actually came together and our struggles became less. And you know how I know? Because they were there with me today. And for 2 of them, it was the first ever luncheon they ever attended. The first. So here's my point to you. Give when you have nothing. Don't lean in, reach out. And the best way to reach out is by not tolerating our differences, but celebrating our similarities. And what does this all bring us to? I don't want you to just reach out to bring a woman here. That's wrong. Because we as women, even if we help other women, we kind of want to keep her right here. God forbid she get in front of us. I want you to reach out, reach back, and catapult her in front of you. I want you to put her in front of you and not be afraid to do so, because it's your job to catch up. And if you can't catch up and she's up there, then you never belong there to begin with. And if all you ever asked of her was the same, was to actually take another woman and put in front of her, what are we actually doing? What we're actually doing is, while people say this is the year of the woman, this is the year of the woman, but not for the reasons that you think. This is the year of the woman because for once, we as women are not actually reaching out to help you just to kind of get where I am. I'm going to put you in front of me. That's my challenge. And you want to know why? Because in the 58 steps that I would have liked to have taken today, from my stair to that podium to have delivered this speech to those 3 women sitting at my table, the simple fact of the matter is, every single one of those steps, I still question whether or not I belonged. I still question whether or not I even belong there. And those women there with me today, they didn't think they belonged. And the truth of the matter is, when you put a woman not with you, but ahead of you, she belongs. And when she belongs, you belong. That's how we get ahead. There were so many people I wanted to thank today. I was a part of an institution where I wanted to thank my chamber. I wanted to thank the other women in my category, and congratulations to the one that actually did get the chance to take the podium. But most importantly, I wanted to thank my friends and family, because for me, there's no distinction between the two, absolutely none. Whether we were born of blood, whether we married into the same family, whether I have mentored you, whether you have come across me as a friend, you are my family. Those 58 steps you took with me every single minute, every step of the way. And you helped me understand I belong. So the other thing I wanted to say was to my children. I have 2 children. I have a 16-year-old daughter and a 15-year-old son, and I wanted to tell them from the second they took their first breath, from the second they breathed, whether I liked it or not, they became the compass of my life. They kept me heading due north. They kept me responsible for my actions. They made me keep my word. They made me live by example, whether I liked it or not. I want to thank my kids. Thank you, Hunter and Duke, for being that compass for me. And most importantly, in today, if you remember that number 1, don't give when you think you have something, give when you have nothing, because that's when you have the most to give and when you're blessed. Don't lean in, reach out. Don't tolerate their differences, celebrate their similarities, and don't bring her to here, but put her in front of you. And here's why. When she belongs, you belong. And the one person I want to attest to all of this is actually a man, and someone that I have admired so many times and used this quote so many times on stages across the world, raising hundreds of millions of dollars for charity. And that's Nelson Mandela, a man that once sat in a single solitary cell, incarcerated, that would go on to lead an entire nation and then the world in the way we viewed basically each other. And that quote was, "It always seems impossible until it's done." So 58 steps that I didn't get to take today, but you know the truth is, I took them anyway. And if a person like me could get into the finals, then so could Patricia, and so could Jenny, and so could Tamara, and so could you. So the steps are now open. I hope you take them. This speech was getting delivered one way or another, trophy or otherwise. Thank you.